All right, we're about to go live, dude.
Yes.
Ready?
Yeah, man. You gonna chuck on that beautiful music?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
one more button I need to press.
And don't forget to hit the record button,
I've
James.
done that already. Title.
Hey, 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 hey. Waiting for the JJs to go live so we can log on and comment.
All right, we're about to go live. And there's Mitch in the waiting room.
Hey, are we live? Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Check your...
Check mine. I'm going to check it. This is Xavier Rudd opening JJ Brothers official episode 4. What a beautiful song, man. Can't wait to perform this. I mean, what? Sorry.
So, hello, everybody.
Hello, guys.
We are the JJ Brothers. I'm James.
Good morning. I'm Joey.
And the beautiful music you're listening to is Spirit Bird by Xavier Rudd.
What a gorgeous, gorgeous song. We thought we'd play this for you. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Lisa. I'm talking to you right before the show. Thanks for tuning in and seeing our behind the scenes.
So while we're listening to this amazing song, Joey, how was your week this week?
Man, my week was fulfilling, challenging yet fulfilling. I was so aware of a lot of things this week. So I'm really excited to share that this week.
That's right. So Linda, my auntie's just messaged that she's on the train and she's actually got us on loudspeaker. So hello, all the random people on the train with Linda.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen on the train. We hope you are driving or sitting down. I hope people are standing up for the elderly.
Yeah. Well, I hope there's some social distancing happening on that train as well.
Social distancing,
sort of locked into a cage with a bunch of people.
Yeah, but I've also seen people not get up for the elderly sometimes, and it really annoys me, and I feel like saying something, but I don't judge, because sometimes I'm like, well, maybe the elderly is getting a little bit of exercise. I don't know.
At the same time, we don't know what anyone's going through, so maybe the people who are sitting down have got their own little struggles. So.
Yeah, have you seen that? So if you're on the train and you're not standing up for the elderly, maybe do that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we have Mitch Doyle in the waiting room.
Mitch Doyle, he's waiting. Hi, Najette.
So we might have
13 people online at the moment.
remove this music.
Hey.
And bring it back to Joey and I.
Hey, guys. Welcome again. Episode number 3. I have to double check that because I was lost in the moment. I was like, man, that music cut off really quickly.
Well, it has been a little bit confusing because there were a few sessions before our first official podcast. But this is number 3 with Mitch Doyle. And this month, the topic is self-love. Yeah. So we're trying to empower you to love yourself if you can. Yeah. And we're going to give you a few techniques through ourselves and through the stories of our guests.
Are we going to start off with a great big hug like we did last time? Is it a bit too cheesy? Are people not ready for a big hug?
Everyone's ready for a hug, Joey.
So what are we going to do? Same as last week?
Stretch out your arms, fingers as well.
Yes.
And bring it back in.
And don't smack the
mic. Hug yourself.
And hug yourself.
Nice and tight.
Just like that.
And on that note, I think it's a good time to bring in Mitch and get this podcast off and started.
I think so, guys. So, ladies and gentlemen, standing in it, I don't know how high he is, how tall he is, but
he's a bit taller than me. Probably
6'1".
Probably 6 foot.
Standing in it, 6'1", bouching all the way from where is he from?
From Newtown.
Mitch Doyle.
Hello.
Hey, Mitch. We don't have video.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, but no video.
Oh, hang on. There we go. Here we go.
Need to see your beautiful face.
Hey, yeah, I love the mustache. Hey, brother, welcome.
Bit of Freddie vibes going on.
Oh, Freddie Mercury.
Bit of Freddie.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, how are you doing, Mitch?
I'm good. Just another day sitting at my desk at home.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like it's about 777 days of those at the moment, but
yeah.
Work and uni is just all blurred into one at this desk in my bedroom. So
you've been keeping really busy, have you, Mitch?
Yeah, it's a bit of a busy time. So I think just adapting to work from home and uni from home. Like it's just, I was saying to some friends the other week, like my bedroom is just like no longer the safe haven. It's like work and it's uni, and you wake up and it's just your desk is staring right at me. It's just haunting me all the time.
Yeah.
So
it was a little bit like prison sometimes, but at least we're allowed to go places, It's not feel like isolate, but it does feel a little bit isolate. It does feel isolation, doesn't it? You feel it.
Yeah. And I keep catching myself being like, is this legal? Is that what I'm doing legal? Is this okay? Can I do this? So, but who knows?
And who are you home with? Are you on your own, or have you got some friends to hang out with? Or
I've got one friend, so I'm living with one mate, which is good fun. But
so you're not completely isolated, which is great to hear.
No, and I've got my best friend who lives just around the corner with his partner and their baby. So at least I get like some physical time with a kid, which is nice. To throw them around and play with them, which I think just makes a whole world of difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. You were telling me you were drowning in psychological studies this week. You had so much studies going on. You're studying psychology. How's that going for you? What year are you in at the moment?
It feels like my 80th year doing it, but so it's officially my last year of the bachelor. So I'm doing my honours thesis this year. So I've just got the thesis to go. So I've done all my coursework last year. It's thesis year, which is the clencher, which is really interesting though, like putting a project together and actually getting to do something that you're passionate about, which is nice.
Yeah, and are you like me back in school days where you leave assignments till the last minute, and are you procrastinator, or do you get them done quickly?
Sometimes I always get nervous if I complete an assignment before it's like due in 2 seconds. I'm like, okay, if I finish it like a week out, I'm like, I've done it wrong. Something's going to go wrong. I need to redo it. So I'll do it down to the clencher. But I find myself procrastinating the most strange ways though, like multiple showers a day or cleaning weird things. Yeah. It manifests in a number of different strange ways.
So what brings you back to your focus and getting back into the assignment when you are finding yourself procrastinating?
I think a deadline is definitely a good thing. I've never missed a submission, so I'm doing something correct. So I think there's two kinds of people who kind of thrive on getting it done really early and being able to work by plan and have really set timelines and micro goals. I tried to do that and I just realized that it's not me. So I abandoned that, and I was like, look,
I can totally relate to that. Totally, man.
If it ain't broken, don't fix it. So I'm not going to change it this far in.
If something's working, why would you change it? If something's working, don't change it.
It's something we actually have talked about in the past, and it's in regards to the differences between setting goals and setting intentions, where setting goals can be a little bit too specific for some people, but just putting your overall intention of, I want to do well on my thesis, could be enough for somebody like you, and that could be all the motivation you need. So that's great to hear that it works for you, and you're aware enough to know what works for you and you're applying it to yourself. So good work, Mitch. That's awesome.
Yes.
Thanks, mate. There we go. Well, it's not done yet, so let's not send out the parade just yet.
I think I have to make it clear when I clap for someone. Sorry for taking the attention off you and putting me for a second. When I clap or we praise someone, it's a bit weird. It's a bit unusual in this society. So we're actually not sarcastic, guys. No, when we praise someone, it's a habit that we've developed over years. It's a legitimate, authentic praise, and we've learned to do that because most societies like, well done, mate. Yeah. It's sarcastic. They take it as sarcastic because we have a lot of Sydney followers or Sydney watchers tuning in to Facebook, and we notice like Sydney is predominantly sarcastic. Well,
it's not just sarcastic; it's a little bit aggressive as well. Hopefully, we can start a movement to destroy that and overturn that, and just be vulnerable and just be men in any form,
authentic.
Which is a great segue into this conversation. Mitch,
praise each other.
We know you want to talk about masculinity.
Yeah.
Do you want to kick off and bring it back to the beginning of your story? So for people who haven't seen How Mad Are You? Tell me about Mitch.
Do you feel comfortable, Mitch? Like, are you relaxed? Yeah. You feeling good, man?
I'm good. I'm good. This ain't my first rodeo. It's so obviously, the way that I met James was through How Mad Are You, which was we're coming up to maybe 3 years this year, I think it is.
That long
ago. It's been a while. Bizarre. It feels like just yesterday that we're all cooped up in a property, not knowing what was coming next. But it was I think I always look back on that experience in such a really fond way. I've done quite a bit of storytelling with my own experience through different media outlets, and sometimes it can be very sensationalized and taken out of context for a number of different reasons, but I felt How Mad Are You was done in such a beautiful way, and really just appreciated everyone's stories for what it was and not tried to make it something that it wasn't.
It was truthful. Yeah, very truthful.
So what's your story, Mitch? Tell us about you.
Yeah, so my involvement in How Mad Are You was as someone with a lived experience of mental ill health. So when I was younger, I was 11 years old and I was diagnosed with an eating disorder. So I was diagnosed with anorexia, and that took up a big portion of my childhood, my adolescence, and my young adulthood. It's the beautiful power of hindsight and reflection is that you can see not only the things that have kind of hurt you, but have shaped you and molded you in a way that you can see the world in a different space. So, what was the better part of a longer than a decade battle was,
wow.
It was really challenging, and it was up and it's up and it's down. And, for me, it started young, and it started because I didn't fit the mold in a number of different ways. I didn't fit what I should be as a young boy. I didn't like sport. I didn't like playing rough.
Cultural expectations.
Yeah. And so I was teased by a group of guys throughout primary school about my weight and my appearance, and then that developed into overemphasis on my appearance and my body weight and my body shape and size, and one thing led to another, and sure enough, it manifested in an eating disorder, and it tore apart my adolescence and my early adulthood, and it just eroded that emerging sense of identity. I was lost in something completely dark and eroding, and only now have I kind of been able to really come out of it and like, hang on, well, now I know who I am, and now I know what I like, and now I know what I love, and now I know what I will accept for myself and what I won't accept for myself. And
boundaries,
it's so beautiful.
Boundaries, with myself and with others, and with things that just we need to call bullshit on, because there's so many things that we need to call that on.
So Mitch, you said you were diagnosed at 11, and then the years following your diagnosis actually impacted you in a negative way. So was there a negative impact of the diagnosis itself?
Sorry, just before you keep going, Cameron is on. He said, "So good to see you, Mitch." And Craig Thompson said, "So proud of you, Mitch. Continue to help others."
Good on you, Craig. So weird. I've never done anything like this. This is weird.
It is a bit weird, Mitch, but you're going to so many people, mate. So please continue to be vulnerable, continue to be open, because
even if you just
coming across so perfectly.
Even if you just help one, it's worth
exactly
it.
Right. Exactly right.
Absolutely. And it's going back to your question, James, a label in the wrong hands, or a label that is overemphasized or used without any knowledge, or it can be incredibly damaging. And particularly with mental illness, labels just can be a life source for stigma, and vice versa. So for me, anorexia was a big label to bear, because it is a label that was, and still is in so many different ways, predominantly considered a young female.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
white female, blonde female disorder.
My memory as a child, that's what comes to head from what I remember from people telling me.
That's our cultural stigma.
It's a cultural stigma. That's what is a cultural stigma. Yeah.
And we know that's not the case. So many men experience disordered eating disorders, body image dissatisfaction, particularly in the modern world with such an emphasis on gym culture, and how that's being marketed towards us now. And it's through a masculinity lens of, in order to be masculine, you need to look this way. In order to be a man, you need to look this way. And if you don't, you're thrown to the curb.
That's a shame, man. It's all about, we see that every day, being aware, don't we? We see the message that's trying to be passed on to continue. And I hate to say this on a big level, but to continue the economy and to drive sales and to, their own agenda.
It definitely is like a commercialism or a capitalism where it brings in that need for the media, for that image. The selling of sex is just so large that it creates that stigma and it creates that expectation on men.
Yeah.
I went through it myself, and I'm sure, Joey, you did too. Like even as a straight male, I was like insulted and teased growing up. So it's not just from a sexuality point of view or from a diagnosis point of view. It doesn't really matter. It's always, there's always negative people around, and it's really intriguing to see that something like a diagnosis can become a very negative way of approaching you, Mitch, as a person. So what I'm interested in, once that diagnosis sat with you, how did other people start to find out? Was it something that you spoke to them about? Was it something that was delivered by your school to them? Like, I'm really interested as to why, after receiving the diagnosis, there was an improvement. What went wrong there? Was there something wrong with the medical system? Is there something wrong with the support that you achieved? What went wrong, and what can be improved moving forward for other people, for people who are struggling with certain things, maybe similar things to you right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great conscious. Yeah. Great.
And the answer would be all of the above.
That's so unfortunate.
The first doctor that I saw stuck me on a pair of scales and said to me, "If you don't put the weight back on, you'll go to hospital." And that was it.
It was a threat.
It was a threat.
At 11 years old.
At 11, yeah.
Do you remember that particularly?
I remember it. I remember it.
Bring you back there if you.
Yeah. So it was. My parents actually tricked me into the doctor. So I had a cold or a flu or something at the time, and like, okay, we'll take you to the doctor. But they could see what was happening, and then they kind of told the doctor what was going on, and he weighed me, and obviously there was some concerns over BMI, and he said, just straight up, put the weight back on, or you'll go to hospital, and that was enough to, I guess, I won't say shock me out of it, but it was enough to, because I'd been in hospital as a 5-year-old for really bad pneumonia. So I just had these very, very, very negative experiences with, no one likes hospital. So it was a threatening way of.
No one wants to be in hospital either.
No, it's not pleasant. And the food's terrible. But it kind of stalled there. And in some way it did push me out of the disordered behaviors that I was engaging in. But it wasn't until I was about 17 when I relapsed quite significantly. And I remember that quite vividly. It was in a PE class when we were all doing BMI tests on each other, weighing each other in front of everyone, fat caliper tongue tests, which is just ridiculous. And I remember it was quite literally like the flick of a switch. And it was like everything that had remained dormant from that moment, when there could have been some very critical psychological intervention from that doctor, had a long period of time to marinate in a lot of negativity. And it was like the floodgates were open. And then from 17 to 24 was probably the most up and down and turbulent times of my life. It was horrible.
Thanks for so much for sharing, man. It's not easy to talk about something like this, but we really praise you, man, for coming out again. And I'm sure you've spoken about this many times before. And it's just keeping in mind that, going back to that, I think that it's really important for someone to grasp what you were going through it's not a fake. It wasn't an act. It's not something that most people in today think, it's serious. It's more serious than most people understand. And I think you've gone through it.
It is. They're and I can only really speak to eating disorders. They're very insidious, and they are very damaging mentally and physically. There can be some very significant physical complications, and eating disorders have the highest mortality rate of any psychiatric illness.
Wow.
So people do very much die from these things. And I'm very open to talking about my experience, because it means that I don't give a shit about stigma anymore.
Yes.
Because stigma will box you in, and stigma will make the condition worse. So
stigma will box you in, and stigma will make the condition worse.
100%.
Yeah.
And the beauty is the more we talk about it, the more this becomes just an easy, natural, vulnerable conversation, the more we're going to impact others, and other people are going to view us and see this podcast. They're going to see this video, and they're going to realize this is okay. This is okay to talk about.
Yeah.
Mitch, I want to bring it back again, and I'm sorry for the hard questions.
That's okay.
I just want to know, how can somebody going through what you're going through, or what you went through, I should say, how can they do better? Should they not settle for a single GP? Should they move to another GP? Should they look for more specific services? I want some.
How did you help
advice,
yourself?
definitely.
Yeah, and how did you help yourself mainly? Like, what was your best sort of target?
There may be very well be instances where the first point of contact is an unfavorable one.
Yes.
But my advice to those people is that they're not representative of everyone. So if at first you don't succeed, try again.
Yes.
Because there are people out there that do get it. And I was lucky enough to, at 21, fall in the good graces of a really awesome psychologist who I still check in with every now and then. So she's become a household name. And there's no, if it wasn't for that relationship with her and that therapeutic relationship, I wouldn't be here.
Are you allowed to disclose her name?
That's so powerful.
Are you allowed to disclose her name?
Her name is Livia. So she's really, really fantastic.
Olivia Newton-John, is it?
No. I wish it was, because that would have been a very different form of therapy. One that may have good graces as well. But
so Mitch, another question. How many medical professionals did you see before you found this psychologist that helped you? Just so other people know that you don't have to settle for that first one.
So it's funny, the GP that I first saw who said, put the weight back on or you go to hospital, was the same GP that I saw when I relapsed at 17.
Wow.
And
was that a family doctor? Is that why?
Sorry?
Was that a family doctor? And is that why you returned to him or her?
It was just one of those medical centers where you just get, called at will for first available. So it was, a 15-minute in, 15-minute out kind of thing. Very, very short.
Doctor in a box. That's what I call
Doctor in a box.
They just want to get their Medicare swiped and get you out of there as fast as possible.
Cash in.
More cash. Exactly right. Another product of capitalism. Another way that capitalism has failed us as humans.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I could see passion in you for that.
Oh, mate.
That's a topic we've got to go into.
But he was, I mean, in that instance, he referred us on to a psychologist who had a 3-month waiting period. And that was just, where I was at that point it was not 3 months. We couldn't have waited that long. So we got in to see kind of a local youth mental health service. And they were great for a period of time, doing a certain therapy that is very young kind of adolescents do respond to. But, I was starting to come into that 17, 18-year-old group where I was like, don't tell me what to do. And
you start to gain independence at that age, and it's an extra level of difficulty too.
Absolutely. And it's your identity is emerging in so many different ways.
So sorry.
And then I went and so I got in to see my psychologist. I can't remember exactly how I got her name, but I mean, the rest is history and it's great. But, another GP that I saw just to get a referral for her, like midway through. So I'd already seen her. And I laugh at this GP now just because of the pure ignorance. But at the time it was quite really, really shocking. Sat down to fill out the mental health care plan. And he's got the pen and paper and he's like, all right, so have mum or dad ever been locked up?
What?
What do you need to see your psychologist for? I was like, it's for continued management for an eating disorder. And he's like, all right, so what are we calling you? We're calling you anorexic or are we calling you bulimic?
Wow, so really matter of fact, really just blasé about what he was saying.
Pushy, very pushy.
This guy had absolutely no understanding about eating disorders. He had no understanding about mental health.
Like he had no idea how to be gentle and approach something with a really professional manner.
And caring.
He didn't know how to be a human. And I thought, I'm lucky in the sense that I've already been in the system and I've got a psychologist that I can, and I've got resilience to that. But if that was someone's first interaction with a GP, that person may never have gone back, and it could have been a disastrous attempt. But luckily, I consider myself one of the lucky ones who fell on good graces pretty early, and got in to see someone really awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm so blessed that you did, because now you're here with us and you're a friend of mine, and you're an excellent presence in this world, Mitch. You're just looking at you now, you're brightening up my world, and I see it from Lisa Tran and from Cameron from the documentary as well. That
there's a lot more people saying
the people who know you, Mitch, they know how beautiful you are, and we're so thankful that you found the right help that you needed to be here. I'm just so grateful that you're part of my life, mate. So thank you so much for being vulnerable and for opening up to us. And I hope
that song comes to my head when you're saying you're so beautiful. And it's Mitch. I'm not going to sing it.
But James Blunt.
Yeah, that's true.
Great.
Saw your mustache in the background. Hey, I got that plant at home, man. They're beautiful. It's important to have nature around you. Is that real or fake?
Mitch, we have a question here from Lisa, and she says, what advice would you give to people wanting to reach out to someone struggling, maybe a family member or friend, and how do you suggest this is approached?
Great question, Lisa.
Oh, the ultimate act of being vulnerable. And
what do you define vulnerability as? How do you define vulnerability?
Well,
after the first one.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I've I'm sure you've heard of Brene Brown, but I've thankfully was very much introduced to her by my psychologist, and I'm like a convert. She's just Brene's work has really, really helped me, and I know her definition of vulnerability off by heart, which is uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. And I would define that completely the same.
Uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure.
Yeah, it's a great one. And we don't know the outcome of being vulnerable, but that's the act of it, and it's courageous, and it's strength, and it's and I think going back to Lisa's question is that advice for people who are making that step to first reach out for help is recognizing that no matter what society says, no matter what culture dictates, reaching out for help is never a sign of weakness. It is always a display of strength. It is a message to yourself and to others that you are willing to step into something unknown. And that to me is the greatest measure of strength.
My daughter was watching Daniel Tiger today.
I can't say I know what Daniel Tiger is.
Okay, so the parents out there will know what Daniel Tiger is. It's a cartoon based on emotions. It's a really cool show, putting out emotions. So kudos to the Daniel Tiger team. And it's like something like, I can't remember exact words. It was like, stop, stop, stop. When you're angry, just reach out for some help.
So beautiful.
It was like, wow, man.
It's a message going straight to the kids.
Yeah.
That's great. You're right. Being vulnerable is a sign of strength. It is a sign of this is me. This is who I am. This is not the facade. This is not the bullshit that society is telling me to put on. This is not the mask. This is not the social media page. This is who I am on the inside. This is me as a human. This is what's going on in my head. This is what's going on in my heart. This is how I feel. And I want people to know that, and I want people to accept me for that. I don't want to fucking bullshit. I don't want to pretend to be something I'm not. And I'm sure that's the same for you, Mitch. You just wanted to be you.
Absolutely. And it's, I'm so, your comment about social media there, I think, I like to call what we're in is, we're in a pandemic, but we're also in a wellness pandemic. Wellness is sold and it is marketed, and happiness is marketed. And it is distorting people's sense of what emotions are.
100%.
And the whole happiness epidemic is that there's this illusion that happiness is something that you arrive at. And it's like, well, no, happiness is as fleeting as is sadness, as is frustration, as is anger. It's all part of the same melting pot. And we see on social media what we think is the perfect life and happiness. And it's one snapshot out of a person's day, which has probably been filtered, edited, manipulated. The kids are probably crying in the background. They probably just shit themselves. Something's gone on. And we're not seeing reality. We think we are, and our brains are not wired yet to be able to take in that much information. And it's we're very primal still. We see those images and we think that's what I need to do. That's what it needs to be. That's what
it's subconscious. It goes to the back of our heads and we start believing it.
And not only that, we're addicted to the dopamine or the hit, the chemical hit from getting a like. So that's why we're trying to present with this fakeness, because it seems to be where we're getting the most likes, and those likes equal happiness. And that's why I'm going to go down this snowballing effect to get to.
There was another documentary. There was another documentary on that note, explaining how these marketing gurus, Facebook and social, and I'm not. There's a great place for social media, 100%. But there's also a lot of
coming out on social media. So
there is a place for everything, right? But there was a documentary insightful of the triggers and their intentions behind them building these social media platforms. Like, why did they build them? It was they knew you were going to get hooked, and they want you to get hooked for their own benefit. So they can market to you.
They employ psychologists to manipulate the presentation of their platform in order to hook more people and become more addictive. So you're spending more hours, more time on their app. It's going to increase their profits because you're going to see more ads and they're going to get more money. So it's just, again, capitalism.
Bring it down.
But we have one powerful psychologist on our team in the near future, and his name is Mitch Doyle. Oh, Doyle.
That movie plagued my child, her Doyle rule. It was me and my brothers, we copped it every day at school.
Oh, really?
I bet you would have.
Yeah.
I got Wee-Wee, Joseph Wee-Wee, because my last name's Weeby.
Kids are cruel.
I know.
Yeah. Well, sadly, adults are also cruel, and that's why it's great to build that resilience, which you said before, and I think also to allow yourself to be vulnerable, to build up that image of who you are and accepting yourself, and again, loving yourself, bringing it back to this topic. So, Mitch, I'd love to ask you, what are some things that you do to increase the love for yourself?
Great question.
I've broken this down quite a bit over the past year, because again, love yourself is another really hashtagable thing now. And
love yourself behind a filter.
And for me, it got down to breaking down, okay, well, what does love look like in other places? And I think of loving relationships that I have with others. It is never 100% rainbows and smiles and puppies and goodness. It is friction, and it is learning to deal with that friction, and it's learning to deal with days that aren't good and taking it all as a complete package. It's not about maintaining 100% smiles. And, for me, loving myself is honoring that some days I'm going to be pissed off. I'm going to be annoyed. I'm going to be frustrated. I'm just going to be it all.
And it's okay to feel okay. They're a part of the human experience, which you're going back to what you were saying about, we have this connotation that happiness is this, and this is how life should be. You should always be smiling and gorgeously looking with bright teeth, smiley teeth, and with a gorgeous sunrise in the background, and life is picture perfect. This is how life is. Wrong. That's not how life is. If you see it in children are the pinnacle of wisdom. If you just watch a child and you accept them for the beautiful natural thing, natural. I say this beautifully because I watch my daughter all the time, and I'm allowed to do that because it was weird. Like, I love kids, right? And in no way, shape, or form am I, you know where this is going, right? You feel me?
Not going there.
But I fucking wanted to go and watch kids just because I love who they are. They're just so natural.
They're so pure. They're so unapologetic. About their actions.
Yes. And if you distort that growing up, you don't get to see that. But we really encourage that as parents. We really want the Miller to thrive and feel okay to feel angry or to feel sad. It's a part of the process. And as you acknowledge that, you see that it's part of the process.
100%.
It's a part of life to be sad, to be angry, to be frustrated. But it's not okay to hurt someone, as Daniel Tiger would say. Sorry, I'll bring it back to Daniel Tiger.
That's all right. But I'm going to bring it back to our watchers. So Lisa Tran saying, being vulnerable, especially for men, it's unusual for men to talk about their feelings. And I think that's why we need to do it more. Nelly Weeby said, what a conversation. Thank you, Mitch, for your vulnerability. Cameron said, we keep comparing our background footage to people's highlight reel. And he's got that in quotation marks and said social media. And my sister Amanda has got a question for you, Mitch. Do you have a mantra?
So a mantra, for people that don't understand mantra, is a self-affirmation or something you say to yourself regularly.
Yeah, I think, and it goes back to happiness. And I kind of, my little one is, happiness is not a place you reside in. It's a place you visit. I've just, I don't know how I came up with it, but where it came from, but it makes those days when happiness is not a place you reside in, it's a place you visit.
So again, this is establishing the idea that you don't need to be at a heightened sense of happiness all the time. It's okay to feel shitty. It's okay to feel mediocre. It's okay to feel absolutely terrible, but it's also okay to feel happy and embrace it. And I think it's the comparison and the juxtaposition between the two, from feeling average or bad to feeling happy, which makes being happy so good.
Exactly. And it's somewhere along the way, we've just put the entire emotional landscape on a binary, and it's either happy or sad.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, there's a shit ton in between that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And all of it's welcome.
Yes. Yeah. All of it.
Because we've evolved with it. We've evolved with them for a reason.
100%.
All of it's welcome. Man, this is so good. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this conversation.
Mitch, I wanted to take it over to masculinity. So it's something that you wanted to talk about, and it's something that I've personally struggled with. So if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind sharing. So obviously I'm a singer. For people who don't know, I play the keyboard and I sing, and it's something that I've been,
and you're wonderful,
criticized for growing up. I was called a million names under the sun. Yeah, all the names you can imagine, just because I enjoyed having a sing.
Only girls sing,
and that challenged me, because I
didn't mean that. It was just one of those comments.
Yeah,
sorry.
It challenged me because I thought, is it not okay to be musical? Is it not okay to be artistic? Is it not masculine? So I always ensured that I went to the gym, trained, and made myself as beefy and muscly as possible to sort of balance out this feminine side to me, which I felt almost guilty to embrace. So it's really odd. And again, it potentially is that aggression that comes from kids and that ignorance that comes from kids, but it's something that I definitely still see in society, not only just in media, but just in the public and the people that I know. So I'd love to hear your story around this masculinity. It's definitely something that is close to your heart.
Yeah. And I think you touched on something really, really quite poignant there around creativity. And I will quote my queen Renee again, that, you know, creativity is a vulnerable act, and by definition, men aren't allowed to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
So I can completely understand why you would be on the receiving end of some of those very hegemonic masculinity kind of attacks, because it does deviate, and it is incongruent with what the dominant masculine norms are. And for me, masculinity was something that I really struggled with growing up, because I didn't fit, you know, I grew up in Southwest Sydney. I didn't grow up in, you know, the eastern suburbs where there's all different displays of it. You know, masculinity was, you have to love football, you have to be loud, you have to love beer, you have to just be aggressive, you have to, you know, whistle at women or whatever it was. And I did not fit one of those boxes. And because of that, you know, growing up and discovering my sexuality and coming to terms with being gay, in the eyes of masculinity, there is no place for homosexuality, because anything that is deviant of the heteronormative kind of masculine norms you're just wiped off the map. So
you're speaking about the general populace, and this is not your personal views. You're talking about others and how society views masculinity. Yeah.
And it's very rigid, and it's stoic, and it's not, don't display emotion, and don't talk about your problems. And for me, I love a cry. I'll cry. It's fine.
Yeah.
I love to be creative. And for me, the journey into discovering my masculinity was also embracing my femininity, because they are two sides of the same coin.
They are.
And we cannot exist without both of them.
Amen.
Because the femininity is the softer side that everyone needs to balance out and dilute the aggressive, that dominating side. So it was about recognizing that just because I don't fit the mold, that's fine. I'll create my own masculinity and I'll live in that state, and that's totally fine.
So do you think there's room for masculinity to be redefined in society's eyes?
Absolutely. I think I think it is, and I think it's starting to be discussed more, and particularly with what I'm kind of, some of the stuff that I'm learning through my studies at the moment, is that the conversation is starting to change, and there is a pressure for research to consider masculinity less as a static construct and more as a fluid as a fluid construct. So because the world is not in a state where rigid masculine norms can exist. It's not a sustainable thing anymore.
See, my question around that is, I've created the circles around me to allow the femininity to be acceptable. And they're the circles. And the people who have that real harsh view on masculinity, I've told them to fuck off. Like, I don't want them in my life anymore. I don't want them around me.
Good on you, man.
But then I question, is there still groups of people? Is there still certain demographics that still have that aggressive masculinity concept?
It's still out there, man. I've seen it.
So how do we get to those, do you reckon? How do we open their minds? The best way I can think of is through conversation. But Mitch, do you have any ideas?
That's a really good one, man. That's it's food for thought.
It's challenging, and
what about
to
you?
Some degree, it is generational, and I think masculinity has had that hegemonic masculinity has had a number of generations to breed itself and to take hold and to lay roots. And the only way that we can, if we can't uproot it, we plant seeds elsewhere. We plant new seeds on what we want to see today. And I think we are starting to see it because anything that is considered weakness is automatically rejected by masculine norms or those kind of very rigid masculine norms. So if we're asking men to bring down the walls, we're also asking them to confront ideals that have been around for a number of years. So we need to expect that there's going to be resistance, and it's going to be a friction state for a lot of guys.
Yeah. I personally think as well, just accepting. Thanks, Mitch. That's beautiful, man. That's amazing. I find myself, I've got to like switch on fully to pay attention. You're so articulate, and I love that about you, man. I love when someone's so articulate like that. I think if we can just focus on the feminine things, that it's like you said before, one cannot exist without the other. We as males, we have that in us. We have the divine feminine within us. But most of us have grown up in this culture where we block it.
100%.
We block it, and it becomes anger. It turns anger, and it fuels us in it turns into rage, or it turns into depression, or it turns into something because we're not unlocking that. We're not allowing ourselves to feel that. And,
we're not being vulnerable, not being ourselves. Vulnerable.
We're not. And I think just one thing, just so simple, just cry, allowing yourself to cry and feel okay to cry in front of people. Just something so simple.
It doesn't have to be crying, but it can also be just talking.
Having a conversation. It can start at talking.
It doesn't have to be some extravagant act. It can be something very simple.
Yeah.
Sharing what's in here with people out
physical.
there.
It must be physical, though. It must be an act. It must be a habit.
And I think there's vulnerability. I love the word, and obviously for a lot of reasons, but it has caught on quite a bit. And I think it is getting diluted in around what it actually is. It's not, for me, it's not about jumping on social media and airing all your dirty laundry and your deepest, darkest secrets, because if you are going to be, vulnerability needs to be safeguarded, and there needs to be trust around that. If you can't trust that it's going to be received well, you're going to have a vulnerability hangover, and it's going to have a compounding effect, and it's going to have a slingshot effect, because you're going to feel more shame about your vulnerability, and it's going to trap you even harder.
It's going to have the opposite impact.
So it's not about over divulging.
Great awareness, Mitch. Absolutely fantastic viewpoint on that. That's so spot on.
Yeah. So Mitch, we're getting to the end of our conversation with you. And if you remember, I gave you a challenge to give to the people, which is, what are your tips to survive coronavirus? So the restrictions are starting to lift now, but there are still a lot of people who are trapped inside. And what have you done? What's been the most powerful thing to help your mental health through these crazy times?
Growing a moustache.
Right. Growing a moustache. I mean, music is always my thing. So high octane, high BPM, just get it up loud, go for it. If for me, it's Pink or whatever it is. I was really waiting for Lady Gaga's new album, which was supposed to drop, but she canned it right as the pandemic started. So Rona can, piss right off, because she's ruined that for me. but thank God for Dua Lipa's album, because that's just been on heavy rotation. But
awesome.
Music is just a great way to escape from something, and you might escape for 3 minutes, and that's great. Jump around, be childlike, be a kid.
Childlike,
Don't sign up for a 30-day fitness challenge, because you'll get 2 days into it and hate yourself because you didn't finish it.
We're about to do that. Sorry, Mitch. 21-day push-up challenge. I'm so
Mitch,
scared.
when you say be childlike, it's not saying to be a child, but it's saying to be unapologetic about what you're doing. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just about just embrace play.
Yes.
Embrace playfulness.
Yeah.
Be yourself. Don't be what the society wants you to be.
Yeah. And I think a great example of that, James, I dragged you to No Lights, No Lycra a couple of years ago, and it was bloody fantastic.
It was amazing. So for people who don't know, No Lights, No Lycra is a hall or a room where you black out all the windows, so there's no light coming in, switch off all the lights, and people just come in, and there's awesome music playing, and you just dance, and you can't see anyone, or you can kind of see the outlines of people who are getting close to you.
Surreal.
But it's so liberating, so freeing, and it's something that I was so anxious about, and I shared that with Mitch. But Mitch was confident in my strength, and he helped me get there and get in there.
Do they screen people before they go in? Like, no,
well,
really
I'd imagine
people?
It wouldn't be happening now with coronavirus, but there would probably be strange people in there. Who knows? But yeah,
I'd be so scared. I'd be so scared to do that.
Yeah, I was scared as well.
It
was so liberating. I remember we walked out. I felt like I just opened my eyes for the first time. I had just a rush of adrenaline. I was feeling unbelievable, and it was such a great experience. So thank you so much for that, Mitch.
Does anyone have any comments for Mitch or any questions before we go? And you can keep talking if you want to before we wrap it up. But you've been fantastic so far, Mitch.
Yeah, you've been great, Mitch.
This conversation has led to some really amazing points that I hope people go back to, and
definitely
they rewatch it, because.
So maybe while we ask for comments, have you gone back and watched How Mad Are You? And if so, is there anything you would change about your experience there, or is there anything that you would, I don't know, do differently, or would you even do it at all if you had the opportunity again?
I would do it again in a heartbeat. Because I got to meet a really great group of people and make some lifelong friends, like yourself. But I haven't watched it again. I watched it I think I watched it maybe once or twice. And I'm not adverse to watching things that I'm in.
So you watch this back.
Yeah, I'll watch it back, and I always find it funny because I'll find little nuances maybe in my body language, or maybe in the way that I talk, or some things that I just say, and I'm like, where did that come from? Have a little laugh. So
it makes me think, I wish we had more videos of us as kids, because that exact notion, watching yourself back, you understand yourself.
Yeah, and you can learn, grow, and improve. And that's what it's all about. This isn't the end of our journey. Our journey continues, and we continue to live. And if we continue to grow and learn, then we're going to just continue to become better people.
Correct. And leave a legacy that's worth leaving, and this earth is in good hands, I guess.
Definitely.
Because the kids are our future.
So the final message, we haven't got any questions for you, Mitch, but it's that we agree that music is the escape. So there's people that agree with you out there. So I personally agree. I know Joey does. We're both very musical.
I'm forever singing, man. My daughter's forever singing at home. It's the most beautiful thing.
So music is the key, ladies and gentlemen.
That's it. My neighbors probably hate me, but they can just get on board with it.
Do they bang on the wall like, Mitch?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'm surprised they haven't. I'm actually really surprised they haven't in this lockdown period, because it's been pretty loud.
So Mitch, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to leave the public with tonight?
No, just keep on keeping on. Don't take people's shit, and just be kind to yourselves.
Yeah. And trust people. I really love that you said that not long ago. When you're expressing your vulnerability, it's really important to express your vulnerability, be vulnerable to people you can trust with it, keep it safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a baby chicken.
Definitely.
It's essential. Yeah, it's essential. Trust is essential.
Thank you so much, Mitch. This is Mitch Doyle. Mitch, do you want to put your social media plugs in here or no?
I don't have any.
Okay, well, when Mitch becomes the big, great psychologist he's planning on becoming, we will make sure we share him
small,
with
big or small,
the
doesn't
community. Yeah, big or small, it's true.
Yeah. Just because you're big, you're a big chest. He told me before he could bench press 190 kilos.
That's just with my left hand.
Oh, geez.
Oh, wowzers.
No.
Go.
Talking crap. Thank you so much, Mitch.
Thanks, guys.
All the best, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
No.
Bye.
How good was that? That was Mitch Doyle.
Wow, man.
He's left us with some food for thought. And I think the greatest thing to come out of that is just to be you, to be yourself. Yeah. I think as well, don't just think that the first medical professional that you go out to see for any condition, whether it's physical or mental,
that was powerful,
is the final step. If you're not happy with what your medical professional is telling you, find another one. Keep yourself open to being true to what you're feeling and what you're going through.
Yeah.
Because if the first one's not going to be there, they're not going to help you. They're not going to give you the support that you require. Somebody else will. It's just a matter of time and a matter of finding that right person for you.
Yeah. So those of you who don't know the definition of stigma, look up the definition of stigma. Those of you who do, he said specifically, and this was beautiful. He said, stigma will box you in. Stigma will make the condition worse. And it's really valid. It's really important to dwell on that. Like stigma. What is stigma? It's out there. It's the general consensus. It's the general view. Who the fuck made these rules up? Yeah. Who made them up? Like who said this is the way the world should be?
Old white men.
Well, guess what? There's some young ethnic boys here to challenge that.
We are definitely challenging
and try and drive a path forward and try and enlighten vulnerability and enlighten emotional talks, because people are really
encourage
enjoying
conversation.
Encourage conversation about emotions specifically.
True, honest conversation.
Yeah, about like people are really enjoying emotions, James, lately. Yeah. Talking like they don't really see men talking about emotions. Are we like one of the first podcasts that are trying to talk about emotions?
I hope we are.
I don't know. I just don't know what else is out there.
Yeah,
I hope.
If nothing else comes out of this, it's just that it's okay to have a conversation about how you feel.
Yeah.
It's okay to talk about your emotions.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a big brawny guy and have a cry. It's okay to just be whatever it is that you feel inside. It's not okay for people to judge you. It's not okay for people to stigmatize you. It's not okay to feel scared about being yourself.
Yeah.
It's not okay to be in a community or surrounded by people who don't lift you up and encourage you.
Yeah.
So we've said it multiple times, but if there's people around you who don't make you a better you,
fuckwits,
tell them to fuck off.
Yeah. That's what tell them to fuck off. Even if you don't have the strength yet, because you will have the strength one day if you intend on it, to tell them to fuck off, just delete them. Don't talk to them. And silence. How powerful is silence, James?
Yeah.
Have you used this tool in real life lately? When you don't want to talk to someone, just don't respond. You're not obliged to. No one is putting a gun to your head and saying, fucking talk back. I've used this many, many times, just being silent, and it creates awkwardness at first. It feels awkward at first, but after a while, you learn to realize that silence, and not in the way that you should use silence and not talk to anybody, because that can become detrimental.
Yeah.
If we don't want to go too far down the spectrum.
Don't want to isolate yourself.
Don't want to isolate yourself. No. But in moments where you think that someone's challenged you and you feel uncomfortable, just keep your mouth closed for a minute and just think about things. Don't respond. You don't need to. No one's forcing you to respond. Silence can be so powerful in moments where you don't have to respond.
Most definitely. I think another place where silence can actually come in really in a powerful way is through conversation, is the ability to just stop and listen. It's something that we talk about a lot in the mental health space, but if somebody's telling their story and you're listening to their story, try to not keep thinking about what you're going to say next. Try not to focus on other things, or not to focus on how what they're saying is incorrect or anything like that. Just stop, be silent, stop the thoughts in your mind, and just listen to what you're receiving from the other person. Accept it. Allow it to become the only thing coming into your mind, because it's only then that you will really, truly take on board what they're saying. And you're going to create more authentic and stronger connections with people if they can feel that you are actually listening to what they say. You're not just allowing them to say something so you can say something on top. It's not like a pissing battle or whatever you want to call it.
It's not like a Meet the Joneses or Keep Up with the Joneses. Like exactly, my house is bigger than yours. Or,
exactly right.
And that's what we're doing here with this podcast. We're listening. If you watch us, and we're not asking you to watch us while the other interviewee is talking, we're actually trying to fully comprehend. We might seem a bit distracted sometimes, but we're writing notes and we're replying to comments, or we're reading comments.
Yeah.
Where our full focus is here. And our full focus is on the interviewee and what they're getting out there and ensuring that it comes out authentic and it's genuine and it's good advice for people to become better, because we believe we're good role models for our age.
100%.
I personally do believe I've achieved a substantial amount of success in my life.
What we're doing right now, away from the success of other things that we've achieved, is just creating a space where people can be themselves. And I think that's the most powerful thing that we're doing.
Fucking oath, man. Yeah. And all we want from this, and literally we say it all the time, is how do we empower people? How do we empower you guys? How do we empower the bigger community? How do we get the hands of strength in order to grow into the hands of the weak?
Yeah.
And we don't say weak in a negative way,
or
to degrade. But there are weak people out there, and they need us. They need strength.
Yes.
They need people like you who are strong to uphold them and lift them up, give them that extra bit of push, and contribute outside of yourself. Look 100%. What we have here.
Giving is living.
100%. Why do we put that there? We could have put anything there. We could have put James Ray Unan.
Well, maybe we should.
No. But we put, because there's something powerful, so powerful. You know, Lisa's saying active listening rather than listening to respond. It's the same thing. It's beautiful.
Definitely. Active listening is very important. I wanted to jump back on. Mitch was saying don't do 30-day challenges, but funnily enough, we are about to do a 30-day challenge.
I'm so scared.
The reason for it is to build mental health awareness and as well as to raise funds for Headspace. So we're trying to encourage as many people as we can to jump on board. So the organization putting this together is called Push for Better. And it's 3,046 push-ups in 21 days.
Oh, man.
So it's approximately 145 push-ups a day. But they actually have statistics based on the number of push-ups you do each day, and you get a fun fact about mental health each day. So
that's awesome.
And it all links in together.
We got my old neighbor who's younger than me.
Yes.
He's jumped on our team.
Oh, that's amazing.
Brendan Bond.
I actually saw Brendan on there today.
Yeah, man.
I jumped in and I saw that you...
he's an exercise physiologist.
I saw that you donated $1 more than me and challenged the people to donate even more, which was hilarious.
I did.
So our team is called Giving for Living. Again, on the backboard behind us.
Giving for living? Or
giving is living,
yeah.
I should say.
Yeah. That's all right.
And please message us if you want to join our team and we'll get you the link. Our code word is love if you find the link on one of our Facebooks.
Yeah.
And it starts off on Monday next week.
Awesome advert. That was an awesome ad. No one sponsored us there in that.
No one's sponsored, but it's raising funds and raising awareness for mental health, which is a big part of what we're trying to do here. I also wanted to say, so Mitch was amazing, and there is an organization called Q Life. It's qlife.org.au, and their number's 1-800-184-527. And what they do is they provide support for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and or intersex community. And of course, there's a lot of other services out there, things like Lifeline, or of course, if you're having an acute incident, please just go see your GP, or call Lifeline or call 000. The services are there for you. If you need somebody for a lot less of an issue, for something that's not so severe, Joey and I are here to support.
Yeah, we want to make it very clear continually that we are not professionally trained to deal with psychological problems, but we have the network to pass you on to.
Most definitely.
We can definitely channel that. We can definitely help you by passing you on to the right people, which we're affiliated with the Banksia Project.
That's
again.
Right.
And that's a beautiful platform to help people.
And again, I think Joey hit it on the head there, is that we are here just as peers. We are just one of the community. We're not professionals. We're not here coming and speaking to you as experts. We're speaking from our personal experience.
Yeah, we're experts in our own life.
Exactly right.
That's it.
We're experts at our own story.
And I think everyone's got credibility like that.
Yes.
Everyone has credibility. You can fully judge, you don't judge, but you can take someone's gold from their life if you look at their persona and 100%. You look at who they are in person.
We all have adversities that we've overcome.
Yeah.
And through those stories tells a lot of people how they can potentially overcome the same adversity or techniques that they may be able to put into place in their life.
Yeah.
So Joey, you've got a book that you've just put on the table. Tell us
about
this book.
Friend. I'm really excited about this book because my wife read it and her growth was through the roof.
Oh wow!
So not only am I giving this away, we're giving this away because someone's already achieved it. It's called the life-changing magic of not giving a. Well, James, do you want to do that? We'll say it again and you beep while I see if you can time it properly again.
Let's go.
The life-changing magic of not giving a Yeah, that's close. I still heard it. So we're giving this away. We're going to write a little message in it. It's secondhand. It's a little bit like not dirty or anything, but
it's a weathered book.
It's a weathered book, and it's
got character.
It's by Sarah Knight, and we really want to give that away. So what do you think the prize? I've got a little bit of an idea if you didn't have one already.
Oh, perfect. Let's go.
Okay. The first person to label all the elements on this guy's shirt. So those of you who Captain Planet, sorry, it was a bit, we're going back to our generation.
I think Lise did it earlier, but we're going to do it from now.
Yeah. Yeah. So whoever, like Captain Planet, he's our hero. Gonna take pollution down to zero. Gonna down there. Bad guys who like
I don't remember the lyrics.
and thunder. You pay for this, Captain Planet.
There's another line, isn't there?
No,
With our powers combined, I am Captain Planet. Lisa has already written it, but Lisa, if you type it back through again, we will.
So the 5 elements, guys. If you remember
there we
the
go.
5 elements.
Lisa Rod, you are the new owner of the life-changing magic of not giving a fuck.
Congratulations, Lisa.
Well done, Lisa. So that's us. We are the JJ Brothers. Is there anything else you wanted to jump onto before we close this up today?
Man, I think we can go on for hours and hours and hours because we've got so much to give and so much we want to give. But we really hope that people have taken out something from this, a perspective from someone with anorexia, has lived through it.
Yes.
Lived experience of anorexia nervosa specifically. He's told me, and he's come out of it. Yeah. He's come out of it. Like, kudos to Mitch, man.
Not only has he come out of it, but he's come out of it as an advocate for people who are suffering. He's come out of it a strong, beautiful human being.
Yeah.
Mitch is just such a good human being, it's just such a powerful thing for somebody to go through the adversities of life and get to that point, let alone to get there with a lived experience. So Mitch is amazing, and I'm so happy we got to speak to him.
Super grateful I got to meet him here online and see that. And I really hope people have taken out great perspective shift.
Yeah, I hope so as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we also want to open up our message bank to you because we love feedback. We're growing, we're learning. This is only podcast number 3, so we're still ramping up and trying to improve as much as possible. We hope the audio is better this week. We've worked hard on the audio. I can see there's some video image issues with it focusing and brightness changing, so we're going to work on that for next week. But any other improvements, maybe in the conversation, maybe in the questions, maybe in something that we haven't even thought of.
Any feedback? How can we make this more entertaining and more engaging? How can we become better for you?
Yes.
Yeah, because we ultimately want to become the greatest podcast ever if we possibly can, but in order not for us own self-aggrandizing movement,
but to help as many people
to
as possible.
to empower people.
Yes.
So what do you love from this show? Just let us know.
Yes,
let us know. Text us, give us some testimonials.
And Joey has said this a number of times, but he is open to challenges. So if you have any challenges for this guy specifically,
put it all on me. Fine, I'll take the leadership role here. I will take it full on. Head steam ahead.
Beautiful. Right? I'm gonna come up with a challenge for you. Something to do with spiders.
Oh Jesus. And I'm gonna come up with one for you. Bungee jumping.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Don't think I forgot.
Should we put this in writing?
No.
Okay. No, nothing in writing yet.
I'm gonna email it to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is James.
And I'm Joey.
And we are the JJ Brothers.
Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. May time be your best friend.